Welcome to the Redeemer University podcast. I'm your host, Zach, and today we are going to be talking with May and Josh. They are the co-chairs of Redeemer's student-led ministry, Rooted Worship. If it is your first time here, make sure to like and subscribe. Find us on your podcast platform of choice. Check out some of our other episodes that explore various aspects of Redeemer, Christian education, and so much more. Thank you for making us part of your day, and with that, here we go. All right, I am here with May and Josh. They are going to be the heads of Rooted Worship next year. We're so excited to have you guys on the podcast. Josh, how's it going? And could you introduce yourself to our viewers?
I'm doing good. My name is Josh. I guess I'm in my fourth year now at Redeemer studying youth ministry and social sciences is my minor. And I'm busy. I'm excited for what's coming and where God is taking me through this school year and what God has in store for Redeemer. I think there's just some active things happening and it's cool.
That's awesome. Oh, thank you for sharing it. And May, yourself?
Yeah, I'm May. I am in fourth year and I am in business accounting. And I'm just excited for this year and what's to come. I'm excited to see how God moves and just what he's gonna do and how I can just trust him more just with everything.
Okay. So, and thank you both again for doing this and coming on the show. Could you maybe let our listeners know a little bit? Is what exactly is Rooted Worship? I know a lot of people in the Redeemer community know what it is. I myself was really blessed by it when I was a student. But for someone who's coming into this and have no idea, like Rooted Worship, like what is that about? That sounds like some sort of like pop or something. How would you describe Rooted Worship? And May, we'll go with you first.
Yeah, I'd say Rooted Worship is just a student-led worship service where people would just get to come to a space and just worship God. We have worship, like a band that plays worship music, and then we have like prayer, and we have a speaker, and we have like creative types of worship. So it's really just a space where the Redeemer community and the community around Redeemer can just gather and just worship God.
Very cool. Josh, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I would say it's just like a space for people to refocus their attention on God. School is a very busy time, and Rooted offers that place of encounter that a lot of people may not get, especially if you're coming from far areas. You don't have a community as much here as some locals do. So it's a place to encourage one another and be transformed by God and just, truly encounter Him as a Redeemer community and a Hamilton and Ancaster community as well.
Very cool. And how would you say that Rooted Worship is, like you guys mentioned community, and that's kind of the theme of this episode. How would you say that Rooted Worship is part of the Redeemer community?
May, do you want to go or me?
Yeah, I can go. It's student led. We just get a bunch of volunteers. Like Josh and I are volunteers. Everyone who's part of Rooted Worship, for the most part, are just volunteers, and we're just kind of students who are just putting our time into this ministry. And so we just kind of like serve the student body and then the community around Redeemer, and then we can just invite people. Like you can just invite people from church around, or like wherever you go. You can invite your family. We've had like youth groups come, like the MAC community come. So it's just really a good place where people just can come and gather.
Yeah. To build off that, I think kind of going off what May said, like Rooted is based in community. Without Redeemer community, Rooted would not take place because it is a volunteer experience, and the Rooted team in itself is its own community too, where I know many people have found some of their closest friends in the Rooted, like being a part of the team and growing together because you're fully trusting God. And I think it just offers a place for people to be more real with each other in a place where God is so evident and working.
Very cool. Yeah. And could you maybe expand a bit on what are some of those roles within rooted worship? And to my understanding, there's some teams that students can be part of. Have you guys been part of any of those teams that have kind of led you to be the heads of rooted, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so I can start and then May can share her. I've
Yep.
never actually been. This is my first year in Rooted,
Okay.
surprisingly. So May can talk more about her experiences in it. But
Interesting.
the Rooted team has three teams. We have a band, so if you're musically inclined, that is where you can show your gifts. And then we have a Q team, which is all about creative arts and using the arts to worship God and what it means to praise Him. Because for a lot of us, praise and worship has always been through prayer and singing, where Q offers a chance to do spoken word, poems, art, like just brings in all the other aspects. And so if you're more inclined to show some creative side to worshiping God, then that team will provide that. And then finally there's a hospitality team which helps with prayer, and like basically they get the whole thing going. Without them, they open the doors, they offer prayer to the people alongside, and then outside of the actual Rooted services, they offer prayer to people and pray for a lot of the Redeemer community throughout the weeks too. Those are the three teams. And yeah, May can talk a bit more about her experience in it and what it's like to be a part of it, because yeah, I've never actually been in a team.
That's really interesting. Yeah, man.
Yeah, so like just Josh said, there's like three teams, and then so Josh and I are kind of like we like lead the whole rooted, and then we have leaders who lead each team, and then we also have like then we have the three teams, but we all meet once a week and just gather as a whole team and just kind of like bounce ideas off of each other and like have a devotional. So that's just kind of a way that we kind of all become a team together. But for my experience on Rooted, I'm in fourth year now, and I've been on Rooted since first year. So the first year I was on the care team, and then I also helped out with AV. And then like those were just like great experiences. Just like it was during COVID, we were like greeting people as they like stood in line. We like were prayed for people. It was awesome. Um, and then in my second and third year, I was on the Q teams, which is the creative expressions of worship. And that was just like an awesome team where like it was pretty small in my second year and pretty big in my third year, but looked a lot of like kind of working together as a team and bouncing ideas off of each other. And just trying to figure out like what does God want for us to do for this service. So like Josh said we did like skits and poems and art pieces, and it was just absolutely amazing. Yeah, and I've never been on band, but yeah, people who sing and play guitar and do the drums and all that, they are awesome.
So okay, that's really interesting. So I am going to ask some follow up questions here, but the first one to you, Josh. So you've never actually been part of Rooted, but here you are now. You're part of the team that's in charge of Rooted. What like? There's got to be a
Yeah.
story there. Like what has your involvement with Rooted worship been? Like, have you gone as an attendee and then kind of got led to this point?
Yeah. So in my first year, Rooted was really the only time I could go see people because of COVID. So Rooted was like very much community time. So I took full advantage of that and decided to go to every Rooted. And since then, I have fallen in love with Rooted, never actually being a part of it though, but always attending and being pretty good friends with a lot of people who are actually part of the team, but never joining. And I think it brought a cool witness for me, just seeing what Rooted is from the outside and seeing like the impact that it is having on people. And just, yeah, that kind of led to this year. And I was praying one night as I do before bed, and Rooted just came to mind. And then a couple days later, the advertisements went out for the co-chair roles, and I avoided them because honestly, I was scared and felt unqualified to even apply just because, yeah, I get hard on myself and never actually being a part of the team. I felt it kind of wrong for me to apply to co-chair it when I've never joined or been a part of a team like that. But then after a couple weeks of ignoring what the Lord was putting on my heart, that was pretty clear and evident. A couple of my close friends and peers started mentioning things, and it was one night my friend looked at me and said, "Josh, you should do rooted. I feel like God's telling you to do rooted." And I like lost it. And I talked to my fiance after, and I was like, I think I have to, yeah, apply for this thing that I think I've already been avoiding, and I haven't really realized I was avoiding it. I just put it on the back burner. So then here we are. I applied, and God made it so evident right away that I was supposed to be here, not only co-chairing, but co-chairing with May too. It was just so obvious in what he's already doing that it's, yeah, I'm so thankful for taking
That's
a leap of
th-
faith
that
and
is
trusting
really
that I am supposed to be
interesting.
here.
And so mate, I'd love to hear your side of the story here of first off like what brought you to want to be a part of the co-chair of Rooted Worship. And was there any affirmation when Josh told you kind of his side of it?
Yeah, so just I guess my side, like I said, I've been on Rooted Worship for 3 years now, and it was just like a really awesome place. Like I just loved coming. I loved the way God just moved through such a small group of people and then just like created these wonderful services. And I knew I was talking to one of the previous co-chairs a while ago, and she's like, "Yeah, you should like apply for a leadership position." And at the time, I was like, no, like I'm going on co-op. I don't have time for that. So this past year, my third year, I didn't take any leadership positions. But then I was like, okay, this year I'm not having any co-op terms. I have the time to like take on more of a leadership role. So I was thinking about the Q team. But then I just had this little voice and God talking to me, and it was just like, I think you should like apply for the co-chair. And I was like, but like Josh, I was like, I'm unqualified. I haven't led like a group of people in this kind of way before. Um, and I'm like, I'm not a big extrovert either. So I was like, I don't know if I can do this, but I was just like, God was just like, no, like I want you to apply. So like I applied, I did my interview, and in the interview they asked me, they were like, so what would you want in a co-chair? And like I listed off some qualities, and then they're like, okay. And then when we like got the positions, I was talking to Josh, and I was like, Josh, like, what did you answer for this question? And then he like listed all of my qualities, and I had listed all of his qualities, and we were like, what? That's crazy. So that just kind of like affirmed that we were like a good fit to be
Wow.
co-chairs together.
Absolutely. Wow,
It's
thank
been
you for
awesome.
sharing that story. That is, Lord bless you. That is awesome. And I'm excited to see how you guys are used in this leadership position because it seems like there was a lot of things in both your lives that brought you kind of to this point. I guess with that, can I just ask, what would you say to any first year students or prospective students that are not familiar with Rooted Worship at all? What would you say are some of the reasons that you've been blessed by Rooted Worship, or can you maybe share a story or two of someone you've seen blessed by Rooted?
Josh, do you want to take this first?
Yeah, I can go first. Um, Rooted for me, uh, it's been extremely impactful in my life. The speakers, they always have something extremely timely to say. I feel like there's been plenty of times where something I've been dealing with was directly talked about in the service, and it was a place where God, I feel like I was just being held by God in that moment. God felt so real to me, and I felt like I was being held in his love and care. And that is something that I think Rooted offers a lot. Is it's a place, people who go to Rooted are there for one reason, and that is to worship God. You're not just gonna like show up to Rooted if it's a Sunday night. A lot of people probably want to go to bed. Like it's a weekend. So to take that time and just be like, I'm gonna go worship God
Mm.
for these next 2 hours. And it was a place where I could be surrounded by strangers, friends, and just be prayed for, especially last year when I was getting all this news about my mom being diagnosed with cancer and really struggling. And that was a time where the worship, it was all resonating so strongly in my life to the point of I just wept one night at Rooted. And I ended up getting surrounded by a bunch of people and getting prayed for. And I felt so much more peace with my mom's situation. And that kind of all came again to a head this year when my mom passed away. There was a student testimony night where one of our student speakers shared about his dad passing, and it just resonated so much with me and the impact he has had in Rooted. Just I could see my own story in his life. And I think that Rooted is that place. Like I said at the beginning of explaining what Rooted is, honestly, it's an encounter with God. It God shows up and it's unexpected,
Mm.
but it's so
Thank
real.
you for sharing, Josh.
Mm.
Yeah.
So for yeah, for first years or students coming in, like if you're questioning God, if you believe fully with your whole heart that God is real, like it doesn't matter where you are in your journey with God, Rooted is a
and,
place
and
for
it's
you to be.
encouraging, Josh, and again, thank you for sharing and being vulnerable. But I've heard so many stories over the years that are very much that personable as Josh has shared. But I've also seen just something as simple as I was overwhelmed with studies and some family stuff going on, and I just came and I was able to just give it to the Lord right there at Rooted Worship. And just hearing stories like that are just so encouraging, and I think that's something that's so positive in the Redeemer community. But May, do you have any stories to share?
Yeah, I feel like Rooted, like Josh said, like God meets you at Rooted. Like it's just a place where you know that like maybe you're having a hard week, maybe like you feel far from God, but like if you come to Rooted, it's just one of those places where it's like, okay, I can feel God here. And like Josh said, like there's so many messages that just like hit you like right in the heart. Um and just God moves like during these services. Um and specifically for me, I feel like Rooted has just been like an amazing place where just being part of the Rooted team has given me so many friendships too, that I know that like there's these people who I like absolutely love, and I just got to know them so much better through working with them on Rooted. Um, yeah, and it's just been amazing seeing like people grow too. I know, especially for the Q team, like sometimes you go up on stage and you're like nervous and you don't know what to say. Um, but it's just like a place where like you can see a lot of like growth in yourself as well. Like just getting past that fear of like going on stage and maybe like sharing a poem of something that is just like scary. Um, yeah, so I'd say like Rooted is just yeah, they're just so amazing. And now
No,
I kind of forget the
you answered
question.
it well. I was just mainly asking for kind of if you could share your experiences with it, and I think both of you did that quite well. I guess one last thing here. what would you, I know you're still in the planning phase or the pre-planning phase of Rooted as we're recording this, and this is releasing the first week of school, but has the Lord given you any kind of things to look forward to about Rooted Worship next year as you guys are the co-chairs for it?
Um, yeah.
Putting you on the
Nice.
spot.
um, I would, yeah. I would say something that has been so obvious to both me and May, as well as the lead team, who are all enjoying their summers right now, I bet. But that we this year, COVID is not really a thing anymore. So something that is super on our hearts is making Rooted community again. That's something that has very been lost in our opinions for the last couple of years. Last year is a little bit better with bigger turnouts and stuff, but we are looking forward to seeing God bring more and more people in. Not only the Redeemer community, but the surrounding communities of Dundas and Hamilton, the McMaster community, and even Mohawk and the rest of Ancaster. That's
Mhm.
something that has been so on our hearts to be a part of. And I'm very expectant to see what God's going to do with that and how he will use Redeemer again. I think it's a chance for the Redeemer community to be a very big vessel in a sense.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. To go off that, like, just like seeing the community come. Like I was talking to someone, and they were like, in previous years before COVID, the auditorium would be like packed with people for Rooted, and I was just like, whoa, that is so amazing, because for like, especially during the COVID years, everyone was sitting like 6 feet apart, but it would be just so amazing to see like more people come to Rooted. But I know for me personally, I'm just hoping to see, and I know that I'm going to see a lot of like growth in myself, just like being in this position of co-chair and just trusting God with it every single day. Yeah, and I know that God is going to do incredible things, and I'm just looking forward to seeing all those incredible things happen. Yeah, as I work with Josh and all the other team leaders and everyone who's part of Rooted, and yeah, I'm just really excited to
That's
see
awesome.
what's to come.
Well, oh, no,
Yeah.
of course, yeah.
Can I say one more thing? Yeah. To build more off what May said, um, I honestly, deep down in my heart, just believe God is doing something. He's preparing something. This last year at Redeemer was very heavy and hard,
Mm.
and coming out of COVID, I'm so expectant to see what God is doing, and I really think He has prepared a team. I'm not trying to be like cocky or anything, but like honestly, the leaders that have stepped up in
Mm.
these volunteer leadership roles are so capable and so equipped. And I'm excited to see how they lead in the teams that function under them. Like God is moving. So if you want to be a part of it, please join Rooted. And if you just want to witness and see what's happening, I think God is ready. And as long as we're willing to be a part of what He's doing, I think this year could be super special.
Absolutely. Anything else to
Yeah.
add, May?
I'm just looking at the calendar. I believe that we're having a Rooted Worship Information Night
Okay.
on September 11th. I think I'm not sure quite the time, but look out for that. Um, yeah, and then Josh, do you know what the service date is for September? Not on the topic.
Yeah.
The end of September.
End of September. I think it's September
Cool.
24th, I believe, is our first
Very
Rooted Worship service. So if you're just interested and you want to know more about Rooted Worship, come to the information night. If you want to just come to Rooted Worship, come to the service on the 24th. And if you come to the service on the 24th and you love it and you want to be part of the team, it's never too late to join.
Yeah.
Or Club Fair. We'll be there too.
Awesome. Well, Josh and May, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. And yes, this is a formal invitation to anyone watching or listening. Come check out Rooted Worship. We're excited to see what the Lord does through this ministry this year. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Redeemer University podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening in on our conversation. I know I enjoyed listening to Josh and May, and I echo that invitation one more time. Go check out Rooted Worship. It's a monthly worship service throughout the school year. You can look on our website or Rooted Worship's Instagram account to know when the next service is coming. If you would like more information about Redeemer, check out our website, redeemer.ca. And of course, you can always connect with the admissions department by emailing admissions@redeemer.ca if you're interested in applying. God bless, and we'll see you in the next episode.